One of the challenges that photographers face is not properly pre-visualizing their images. This can result in anything from shots that just miss the mark to images that are little more than snaps. In this video, we will explore pre-visualization. We'll take a closer look at what it is, why it's important, how to achieve it, and crucially, why it will improve your photography. We'll take a look at some of the more recent images that I haven't shown before and how having an idea of how I wanted them to look and feel meant that I actually took the shots rather than ignoring them. Pre-visualization is what we do when we're imagining what the final image will look like, long before we've taken it. Being mindful of your final look and feel will help you not only with the composition, but also with the camera settings. You probably already do this to an extent, but without really kind of realizing it. For example, setting a shallow depth of field to bring attention to a subject, or selecting a faster shutter speed to freeze motion. Of course, it goes a lot further than that, but all you really need to do is keep in mind an idea of what you want the final image to look and feel like before you press the shutter. And yes, feel. Many of our images should be able to conjure an emotion in the viewer. For example, some images may produce a pang of fear. Sunsets probably create an element of warmth, perhaps cosseting. Dark, moody images bring feelings of trepidation. Pre-visualizing will help you with this. Now, pre-visualization is not a new modern fancy term. If you think about it, the entire process exists in many things such as script writing, performance rehearsals, storyboarding, sketching, musical demos, even holding a paint swatch up to the wall to see if you want your lounge in that colour. In photography, the term is pretty old. It was Ansel Adams that popularised the word, and he's dead. Pre-visualization helps with lots of things. Firstly, it can help you determine whether the shot is worth taking. One of the issues that is often not discussed with digital photography is the downside of having an almost limitless number of frames to shoot. All too often we're more interested in the positives of not having the cost of film and the processing. But when these limitations aren't there, you can be tempted to shoot any old crap, which you've then got to sift through and dump the junk or just store forever. Secondly, pre-visualizing an image gives you the power and motivation. If you know the look of the finished shot, you can shoot with purpose, and with photographs with purpose, they're often significantly better than those that are shot just because. Additionally, you can take a step back and have a good long look and decide what you want in the frame, and crucially, what you don't. Remember, it's your job as a photographer to keep a photograph simple so that it holds the viewer's attention. The more you understand about the potential image before you shoot it, the more you can plan it. The more you can plan, the better the image could be. If nothing else, it helps with your mindset. Of course, it might not come to fruition. There might be something that really fouls it up. There's often the problem of putting an image on a larger screen and it looking very different from the back of the camera. But if you've been mindful in the pre-visualization and execution, the next time you might be better prepared. Or perhaps more importantly, you might be more suitably prepared and be ready to alter your plans and avoid a wasted trip and or disappointment. A bit more on that in a little while. This is a rather more challenging element to explain than the what or the why. How you pre-visualize will depend on you. It will depend on the location, the conditions, and so much more. What's important at this stage is to take a good look, take in the scene, discover all that there is to see. Vitally, try to do this before you get the camera out. Heck, why not pre-visualize an image before you even go to the location? Do some research, check maps, check Google Earth, check other photographers' work. Look at the weather conditions and the predictions, know when and where the sun rises and sets, and get an idea of shooting the angles where shadows might fall and highlights could catch. There's plenty of resources these days to help you long before you leave the house. Of course, if you're already familiar with a location, that's great. If not, maybe head off on a scouting mission. As I said, the how really is up to you. But if you're armed with as much information as possible before you arrive at a location, you're going to be in the best position to make the most of whatever situation you're presented with. Now, this sounds like a lot of work. Sure, the how to pre-visualize can be a lot of work. And if photography is just something to immerse yourself in, to relax or get you out of the house rather than work, skip all of the stuff that you feel is going to stop you enjoying things. That's totally fine. Just go out and find great shots without planning. You can still pre-visualize. If you simply frequent the same places, pre-visualization can come with little or no additional effort, as your familiarity with a location will pay dividends over time. Personally, I get turned off by many things due to the effort of pre-visualization, preparation. My lack of patience has worsened as I've aged, undoubtedly helped by the instant gratification psyche of modern society. And planning for me is just boring. If Nike had promised not to sue my ass, my tagline would be, just do it. But deep down I know that preparation is key to better quality work. And this video is a great example, hopefully. You see, this is one of the very few videos I've ever produced that's scripted. My expectation is that through scripting, pre-visualizing as it were, I'm producing a more polished end product. Something with few, if any, ers and ums, well, apart from those two. And something with planning and structure that will make editing simpler and quicker. But the planning process for this has been a real ball ache. I have rewritten this script so many times, and although I am scripting this long before I get in front of a lens, I am sure the retakes will be horrendous. You'll have to tell me how it went. You'll have to tell me how it went in the comments. On a serious note, my small YouTube channel is unsponsored and costs a great deal of time and personal money to keep it going. This video makes use of a new and quite expensive teleprompter, and if you feel the production quality is improved, perhaps you could give the video a like, or even better, if you can support me by buying me a coffee or joining the channel, that would be great. I wouldn't think any less of you if you don't, if only because YouTube doesn't tell me who you are. In this video here, I talk at length about what I look for in certain images. It's been by far and away my most popular video so far, and I would suggest you watch it if you haven't already. It will help you get an idea of how I see and visualize images. But one of the things I didn't talk about in that video was pre-visualization. Of course it was happening in my mind, but the focus of the video was more about looking for certain elements to make a shot. I may have been thinking about the final image, but I wasn't talking about it. Well, not very much. Having an idea how your finished image will look is incredibly powerful at the point of capture, as you can influence how you capture it. Do you use a shallow depth of field? Perhaps you underexpose a little. Maybe you need to get further back so that the story is a bit more complete. Maybe you need a little bit more width, but not the height. So you elect for a 16:9 aspect. There are lots of things that you might do at this stage in the pre-visualization. These are simplistic examples, I know, but they're all important, and you're probably already engaging in activities like this, but not acknowledging the concept that it's all part and parcel of a larger process. A little way down the coast from me, there's a community that's nestled in the dunes. It's a very long history to it, and it goes back to Viking times. But with erosion having swallowed a great deal of it, is now a very 20th century feel to it, with individual bungalows of varying construction methods and materials. It's fair to say that there's a lot of corrugated sheet steel and quite a lot of peeling paint. Parts of it feel quite abandoned, though it's far from it. It's a brilliant place to do some photography. Though, as you walk around, you could be forgiven for not really noticing its potential. This is where pre-visualization really plays a part, because you really need to be able to see beyond the slightly ramshackled look of the place, which easily hides its photographic potential. Go at it wrong and you'll get shots like this. But if you have a bit of pre-visualization, they can turn out more like this. Of course, you don't have to fully pre-visualize every image, but you'll quickly come to learn that it helps enormously, and it will soon become an habitual part of your process. Of course, once such a thing becomes a habit, you no longer need to think about it or how to perform it. It just happens. Whereas once you might have rattled off shot after shot only to never bother looking at the images after the initial download or even deleting them, you will find that you'll probably begin to be more selective in what you shoot and, as a consequence, shoot fewer images. Less is often more. And don't worry about missing possible shots because you're being selective. There's a strong argument against this concern, in that you don't know what you're missing anyway because you didn't photograph it. There's often no document of the shot that got away, a bit like the fish. But also, if you have the opportunity of revisiting the location frequently, your ability to pre-visualize is massively improved upon each return visit, as you'll be able to hone ideas, strike at new compositions with elements that are perhaps new or weren't seen before. There's another power of pre-visualization as well, and that's options. To demonstrate this, I know that I can visit Haysborough, just along the coast from me, throughout the year and get compelling image of the lighthouse with sunrises and sunsets and leading lines in the fields and the paths, foreground interest and so on, because I know the area well. And I can pre-visualize the kind of shot that I will get even before I leave the house. On a recent sunset shoot, I decided to head for Cart Gap rather than Haysborough, as it's only a short walk back to the lighthouse in the direction of the sunset, and also because car parking there is 3 after 6 p.m. Let's join me there now. I came out tonight because I thought I would get a nice sunset. We've got quite a lot of atmosphere. With the sea, you can see the lighthouse down there, and I was hoping that I was going to be able to get a little closer to it and get some colour and a kind of darkness silhouette with the kind of atmospheric background. But what I hadn't spotted, and indeed of course you probably wouldn't because of the haze and everything, but you can just see that there's a bank of cloud out there that the sun is now just vanishing behind. So as you can see, the idea for the shoot failed due to the cloud, but undeterred I strolled on, quite unlike me. It was quite chilly when the sun vanished, so I didn't stay around for long, but I was able to revisit some of the other dwellings here that I've shot before, and armed with an idea of how I could process them, I gathered a few from literally a 500-yard area, and then I was back to the car for some warmth. Before I go too far, I need to acknowledge Tom Grant. He's a local photographer in these parts. Tom has a real eye for this kind of thing. Last year, Tom suggested that we do a joint shoot here, and whilst we've never actually been available at the same time, we've both visited the area and made some great images quite separately. Now, Tom is a real master at creating compelling images from mundane settings. I'll include a link to his Instagram feed in the description. Some of the inspiration for the look of the images in this video come from Tom, and if you like these, you must give him a follow. But even before I do that, I want to take you back, way back to February 2022 and to this shoot. Down there in the distance you'll see this little hut, and I have in my mind what I'm going to do with this shot. Very bright spots, quite dark spots where the shadows are. And my idea with this shot, and it might not play out, I don't know, it might not, is to shoot this little building hut and such down here, isolating it to a degree with the shadows, and the shadows are rather nice. And I'm shooting, I'm kind of framed up, so I'll take the camera off from around my neck, and I'm framing up more down here. And I'm going to process it in such a way that really focuses all the attention on the little building and make it the kind of hut in the woods kind of shot. Kind of a bit spooky, a bit mysterious, a bit ethereal, that kind of thing. So, in line with my pre-visualization, I've shot this so that the exposure on the hut is right and everything else is underexposed. That enabled me to do this with it. You can watch the entire video, it's part of my back catalogue. There's a link down below. Back to Cart Gap and the Bush Estate, and let's start by saying that I had little expectation of any of these images being remotely usable straight from camera. I mean, there's mundane and there's just plain boring. But I also knew that giving these images a certain look could transform them into something much better than the starting shot. So let's have a look at the images that I got on this particular evening. Now, because of the style of these buildings, what really kind of works for them is a kind of retro vibe, because there's a real age to them. So if we take the image that we're shooting now back to the kind of age when these would have been new, or newer at least, then our colours and everything else are going to be a little bit muted, slight fading and such. And that's really the style that I've gone for on a lot of these, but not all of them, for sure, not all of them. So let's start with this garage. I've got two shots of this. This one here is a little bit wonky, but this one is the one I chose. You can see it's bland. It's the kind of shot that you think, well, why did you shoot that? But I shot it because I knew I could do something better with it. Now you can probably see down the bottom here that I'm not quite central and such. Yeah, I'm doing this from outside of the boundary of the property, so I'm a little restricted, and yeah, I don't want to appear weird walking around photographing people's properties. But the choice here is f4.5. It's handheld at 1/10 of a second, so certainly the image stabilization was important here. But the whole point of this was to get the garage in focus and not to get the foreground in focus. So your eye kind of leads up, in addition to the tyre tracks, or the concrete tracks with the tyres running up to the garage. The final version of this is that, and you can see I've straightened things up a little bit, I've corrected perspective a lot, and I've played quite a lot with the contrast. I've kind of boosted some of the colours, taken some of the colours down, put it into a frame, and we've gone from something that was bland as anything to something that's actually quite interesting, quite compelling. This was the pre-visualisation process. I hadn't exactly imagined it like this, but this is where it landed. It's got that retro vibe to it, and I really do hope you like this. I think it's a lovely little image. If we take a look at this one of bins, you will see that there's not a lot to it. But again, yeah, I kind of visioned how this might look. And if we kind of just go up through some of the settings on here, you can see that there's quite a lot of changes to it. I started on this one with a preset in Lightroom, so it kind of takes the saturation down and such, and gives it a vintage vibe. And this is the preset VN10. I'd have to look it up, but I'm sure it's in the vintage section of the presets. I don't use presets very often, but sometimes they give you a really good kind of starting point, because if you do want to get the colour out of something, then it's a really quick way of doing it. And there's quite a lot of adjustments on this. And ultimately it came down to this image, which then got put into colour effects. This is kind of where we ended up with this. And this has got the kind of 1960s early colour film vibe to it. It's that gives it a certain charm. It's not the greatest photo, but it has that aged look and feel to it. Yeah, if you look at that bin here, look, it's bursting at the seams. It's a brown bin for garden waste, but it's been held together by tape. It's got that kind of squeeze it down kind of look, and there's a story in it, and I kind of like it. Here's another one. I think this one again kind of tells a story. It's shot at f3.2 with the focus entirely on the door and the peeling paint, and as I said, there's kind of corrugated steel, and it's not a salubrious looking place, and that's its charm, of course. I've only actually really applied a preset to this and then adjusted the exposure a little bit, and then I've thrown it into what again was almost certainly I say almost certainly colour effects. This may have been analog effects. I'm not entirely sure what this one was, but yeah, it again, it's turned into something that's got a little bit more crunch to it. It's got that little bit more kind of contrast, a little bit of an aged feel to it. Again, colours are really desaturated. I think the image has got far more charm now, particularly with a bit of grain as well. I always add some grain to these to make them a little bit more gritty, and I think that's a nice image as well. Previsualisation also includes understanding how light may affect your photography. So I've come back to the bush estate because I know that light won't affect the kind of images that I'm getting here, or rather what I should say is flat light won't affect it. And that's pretty much what we've got today. You can see that there's just a big cloud base up there, and that's great for this kind of stuff because the kind of images I'm trying to get, whether I get any today or not is completely irrelevant, but the kind of images that I'm likely to get benefit from not having direct light, benefit from that great big softbox up there of clouds. So it's a good place to come for that. Previsualisation can really impact positively your photography, and I hope this video has demonstrated that. If you'd like to see more ideas on the kind of things that you can go out and get photographs of, then these videos here are going to help you. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to click the like button, and we'll see you next one.